Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ful-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. Joining me this week are my co-hosts AJ and Drew. How are you doing, boys?
Doing well.
Very good, very good.
Obviously, we are here, super excited for Monday Night Football. It's a big derby. Obviously, our game against Brentford. Before we talk about the
Big
game,
derby
though,
for who, Ash?
yeah, this is what I was about to ask. It's before we get on that, though, I do want to discuss how much of a derby this game actually is, because we know that it's one that's growing in its importance every year that we play Brentford regularly. And obviously, me and AJ are a little bit younger than you are, True, and you would have been probably experienced Fulham Brentford pre-90s when it may have been played a bit more. So I want to get your opinion on, just how big of a derby is compared to, QPR and Chelsea and Brentford. Like, where does it sit for you now, and how is it going?
It's difficult to. I mean, Brentford. I mean, back in the day when they had players like Dean Holdsworth and the like, I think they spanked us about 4-0 once at their old ground. They've always been massively up for it because they've got an inferiority complex. I mean, even QPR don't take them seriously. And obviously, we've been in different divisions for quite a while. We were in the Premiership for quite a long time. Then they've come up. I mean, full credit to them, though. They're an incredibly well-run club. Their scouting's excellent. Their manager's really good. Their stadium looks like Meccano, but you can't have everything. But in terms of, they get up for this like I suppose we get up for the Chelsea game. We don't want to lose. We don't want to lose. But I'm looking at it in terms of, for me, it's more about the 3 points than it is about any sort of bragging rights. It's not. I know it's meant to be a West London derby, but really, I mean, their closest team is QPR. Our closest team is Chelsea. I knew a Brentford fan quite well, and for years, he had a big thing about Fulham, but he used to sleep under his bed, and turned out he was a little potty. But that just about sums him up. It's I don't want to be condescending, but I am.
Some of this there.
Yeah, I am. I mean, yeah, it'd be great if we beat them. I've seen them really turn us over at the Cottage, but they're really up for it. And that's the thing about Fulham that we've seen this season. When we're not switched on, and when our heads go and we don't respond, we get turned over. Classic example is how we came apart after missing the penalty in the Villa game. I mean, Ash, you were quite vocal about, what did you say? It took us about at least 20 minutes to get our heads back in the game. You can be sure that Brentford will come all guns blazing. And that's, partly due to probably a slight inferiority complex and how they view the game, but also because, to be fair, they're well coached and they're a well-run club. And if we're not up for it, then it could get really, really uncomfortable at the Cottage, because we just can't afford to turn up and think, that we're going to win, because we won't.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying. AJ, how about you, mate? Like, how do you rate this derby as a slightly younger Fulham fan? How do you rate this derby?
To be honest with you, until we got relegated and we were facing them in the Championship, I didn't know they existed, completely frankly. I didn't know any Brentford fans that were Brentford fans that weren't Chelsea fans beforehand. I still don't know any that are Brentford fans now that weren't Chelsea fans beforehand. And yeah, I don't see them as much of anything, and that's not me being salty. They've done, as Drew said, exceptionally well getting into the Premier League. They've got an excellent manager, despite being a bit of a loony. They've got a terrific squad, well-run club. They're enjoying their new stadium, and yeah, they're just another Premier League team to me. I'd see them the same as I would see playing against, I don't know, Leicester or Southampton or anyone under those sort of likes. I don't think of them any differently than any other Premier League opposition. I don't see it as much of a derby. And the atmosphere at the Cottage normally tells that. We don't hype ourselves up for that game very much like we would do even for some of the other London derbies like a West Ham or even a Crystal Palace. So that's my thoughts on the game, frankly. I'm in it to try and get 3 points, hopefully. They will be up for it more than we will, based on the nature of the crowd, at the very least, in my opinion, especially with it being a Monday night. But yeah, I'm just hoping for more points on the board, frankly.
I think it's a funny one for me because, you know, I'll talk from a personal, like, it's not the same for everyone. For me, obviously, our three big derbies obviously are QPR, Chelsea, Brentford. Like, no matter what people say, that Brentford is growing, it's becoming bigger and bigger every single year. And I think the two from our side of it, every year we do take this game more and more seriously as a derby. The more we play each other, the more we take it more seriously as a derby. It's still, you know, numero uno for them, no matter what they say and how much they pretend it isn't. You know, it's still their biggest game, their biggest derby, the one they're desperate to win. For me, you know, I can categorize it quite clearly. You know, Fulham Chelsea, we all know, is a bit of a sibling rivalry. You know, we're the small boys, they're the big ones. We're desperate to beat them, and all they really care about is making sure they don't lose. They don't really care about the result. You know, they expect to win, they just hope not to lose. You know, and the big one for me is always been QPR. It's always been QPR. I can't stand QPR. I can't stand Loftus Road. I can't stand White City or Shepherd's Bush. So like, it's one of those things. But I do take this game more seriously every single year it comes about, mainly because their fans are fucking annoying, and it's got to the point where, you know what, yeah, we do want to beat you, we do want to do it, not because we think you're getting big or whatever, but it's because we just want to shut you the fuck up. So it is it is as simple as that, isn't it? You know, and I'm sorry for swearing as much as I just did there, but for me, that's it. I just want Fulham to win, to shut their fans up, and
Yeah, it's
that'll be it.
interesting you
But
say about QPR, because if we were playing QPR, I'd definitely be much more into it.
oh yeah, me too, 100%.
Definitely be much more into it if it was QPR.
But don't get me wrong. That I do. This game is every year. This game gets bigger and bigger as a derby for me. You know, so you know, it's good. It's good to have another one because QPR have gone to pot. So it's good to know that, you know, Brentford have stepped up a little bit there.
Is this
Anyway, let's
rivalry based on?
go on.
I was going to say, is this rivalry based on ambition? Because realistically, we probably see Chelsea as rivals because we've got the ambition to be as good as them. Have they always saw us as rivals because they've always wanted to be as good as us? Like, they don't have what we have had over the course of our history. Granted, neither of us have won a major trophy, but we've been much closer than they have over the years.
I don't think so, AJ. I mean, growing up in Fulham, back when I did, it was not uncommon for families to go and see, you know, you Chelsea one week and Fulham the next.
Yeah,
the clubs have been geographically and culturally a lot closer, I suppose, or familiarly a lot closer. The cultures of the two clubs are very, very different. I mean, we've never had, you know, the headhunter element that they've had at Chelsea. Obviously, the two teams went in rapidly different directions because of the money that came in. But you got to remember how close Chelsea were to going out before Abramovich turned up. With Brentford, slightly different. There's geographically they're not as close. They've been historically a much smaller club in a lower division than us. And like has already been said, we view them sort of the way Chelsea view us. But I suppose because we're now operating on the same sort of plane and in the same sort of league, you know, they see us as, I suppose, natural competitors because we're similar sizes and we're probably going for similar things. But I don't think historically, and I absolutely respect everything Ash has just said about the game becoming more important. I just can't see it being being viewed the same way Fulham fans view Fulham QPR or Fulham Chelsea. Brentford are very much a very recent phenomenon, AJ, as you already said. I mean, you said you didn't really acknowledge them at all, which is a credit to them and how far they've come and how quickly they've come. Because you look around. I mean, look at Leicester, the turmoil they're in now. They've got significant problems off the field. You don't see Brentford having those sort of doubts or those sort of issues. I mean, even at Palace, and Ash, you'll know better than me because you're a local boy there. I mean, there's a real divide between the fans and the ownership about the stadium. You know, whereas Brentford, they've got a new stadium, relatively financially secure. They've got a good manager. They've got a plan, and you've got to respect them for that. You really have to. But
100%, 100%. Yeah, no, they're a well-run club. They fully deserve the steps they've taken off into the league. And as much as I joke about their fans and stuff like that, you can't do that. For me, what says it all, and before we move on and talk about the game, is this. You know, Fulham sing songs about Chelsea and QPR every single week. We never once sing about Brentford. I'm never not hearing Brentford singing about Fulham. So it's one of those things, isn't it? And it's the same for like Chelsea will say the same thing. We sing songs about them; they never sing about us. It's one of those things, isn't it? And that is what that is. Let's actually get on and talk about the game, though, because obviously that's what we're here for. We're not here just to badger the Brentford fans into their spot. It is a big game on Monday night, and we should expect it. You know, looking at the team that's going to play, I'm only really expecting one change myself, with Anderson coming back in for Diop, as well as Diop has played. Drew, are you expecting any other changes? Do you think we might see any other changes?
No. I mean, Silva now, I think, has got his settled 11. I don't think that he's going to, say, for example, play more defensively in midfield as he did at Manchester City. The impetus will be upon us because we're at home to attack Brentford. But ironically enough, I don't think Brentford are going to be backwards about coming forwards. So I think your starting 11 is going to be exactly what you said, Ash. I mean, arguably, there's been a lot of clamour for Reece Nelson to make a start, especially since Traore has gone quiet the last couple of games, with the idea of moving Iwobi out to the right. But I just don't see it. I mean, even Silva's press conference today, I mean, he's admitted certain players, Pereira, Bassi, can reach greater heights, but that doesn't indicate to me that he's losing faith in them. He's just expecting more. So yeah, I think it will be exactly as you said, Ash. I'll be very, very surprised. Personally, I'd love to see Reece Nelson given a longer run because he is a different class. But yeah, team picks itself at the moment.
Yeah, obviously, AJ, looking at the league table, there's one point between us and Brentford at the moment. You know, we're doing a Fulham special. We've won 3, drawn 3, lost 3. They've I think they've won 4, drawn 1, lost 4. Is it? If I'm correct? We both on 0 goal difference. Difference is we've scored and conceded 12. They've scored and conceded 18. Do you think this game on Monday is going to be super open and there's going to be loads of goals, or do you think we're going to see maybe something a little bit different? What are you expecting?
It's a tough one because we've both had up and downs already this season. They looked like they were in for a relegation fight at the start of the season. We looked like we were in for Champions League spots, not realistically, but based on our form table at least. And the last 4 weeks, you could say those have flipped. So it's pretty much anyone's game, and most people would be hedging their bets on a draw. We typically don't draw 0-0 at the cottage. I think we went, 7 and a bit years without doing so before we ended up facing Villa and drawing 0-0. So my suspect is that it's going to be quite a goal-heavy game, especially with their knack of scoring really early on recently, as well as their leaky defence. But Anderson's back, and he probably wants to prevent that sort of thing from happening. So I'm really undecided, frankly. Sorry to sit on the fence.
That's fine. Obviously, we'll end this how we always do, and we'll get a score prediction and stuff from you anyway. For me, there's one thing that I think is going to be the biggest thing on Monday night is, as you just said, Brentford score a lot of goals, but they also concede a lot of goals. And for me, they have probably 3 of the best attacking players together out of the non-top 6 teams in the league, but they're 2 centre backs and their goalkeeper are nowhere near up to scratch for the rest of that team for me. Now, I look at it and I go, there's a defensive flaw there that we can exploit on Monday night, but then I worry about their attacking 3. Drew, do you think that we should be more concerned about conceding goals, or should we go into this game and go, you know what, their defense is not that up to scrap, we can score, and go with that mindset into this game? What would you be like if it was you and you're talking to the players? What would you be like? Would you like just go for the goals, or would you be just try to stop them scoring because they will concede?
That is a very, very interesting question. And what I don't think we can do is a la Everton away. By that, I mean toy with them, play with them, have all the possession, but have no cutting edge. We talked about the game at Goodison, where I said I don't feel that we sell out enough to the attack. We don't break beyond the forwards. We don't run from deep. If the game on Monday night turns into a basketball game, i.e. end to end, and it's a shootout, I think our defense is stronger than theirs, and I would commit to attack. I think it's work on the basis that they will score. I would commit to scoring more. And I know that's very un-Silver-like. I mean, he would hate that. But I think I would exploit the weaknesses they've got in their defence, and I would set out to score goals. Because if you get a lead, especially with a couple of goals, you are going to get more spaces opening at the back as they commit. And I don't see it being a 0-0. I'm totally on board with what AJ said. But I think it will be a high-scoring game. I think we could see at least 5 goals. Hopefully with Fulham scoring more. But if you were to tell me now, Ash, that Brentford are going to score at least twice on Monday night, I would believe you. I just hope that we commit to scoring more. That's what I want to do. So in answer to your question, I'd sell out to attack and score goals.
Yeah, no, I think I'm on the same mindset, really. I think that, for me, their front 3 does scare me a little bit because they're fast and they can score, and they score some brilliant goals. And this the one bit of respect I'll give Thomas Frank and what he does at Brentford, because he's always done it. He's had multiple strikers and multiple variations of that attack that he uses now, that he has done exceptionally well at getting people moving and scoring, especially in the Premier League, and you have to respect that. But for me, Flecken is probably the worst goalkeeper in the league, and we're talking about a league that has Southampton in it. Like, he's probably the worst goalkeeper in the league, so we need to be exploiting that. But in saying that, I look at that and I go, Monday night could come down to two things: the managers and how they react to situations in the game, and the goalkeepers. Because I have full faith in Leno, and he's probably one of the best goalkeepers we've had in a long time. But he's going to have to be on form on Monday in order to keep Brentford quiet, attacking wise. So we'll see how that is. We often complain about Marco and his approach to changing things in game. Sometimes he can be a bit like hard-headed about changing things how they go. And I think Monday could be the type of game, especially against a manager like Frank, that we're going to have to be quite quick at changing things and adapting if they need to be done. We'll see how that goes.
Sorry, Ash, to cut across you. You just made me think. There's been speculation around Frank quite a lot, and I do wonder, and I'm just throwing this out there, and I know that we haven't got time to go into it. I'm wondering what happens when Everton move into their new stadium, and if there's not an uptick in respect of Dyche, whether they'd want to move for someone like Frank, because I could see him doing well if he's backed, because he is a good manager. He is a good manager. Say what you want, but he's a good manager. But
no, 100% is. 100% is. I think for me, if I was Thomas Frank, I wouldn't be leaving Brentford for Everton. But I would be leaving Brentford. I don't know.
I'm just saying.
I completely understand what you're saying, though, because if I'm Thomas Frank, I'm thinking that with the job that I can do with the money that Brentford spend, can you imagine what I could do if I had money to spend?
Well, this is it. I'm just thinking of from Everton's point of view, brand new stadium, brand new dawn. That's all. But I digress. Sorry,
Decent
mate.
football. No. It is what it is, isn't it? I think, I will give Thomas Frank the respect he deserves. He's a good manager. He's done a great job at Brentford. As annoying as that is to watch and see, as much as we may joke about him or say things about him, I will not. I'll be nothing but accepting that he has done an amazing job with them. And they should they're rightly proud of that. Let's look at this how we always do. We'll end the show how we always do for these game previews. AJ, give us a player to watch from Brentford, a player from Fulham you expect to show up in this game, or what you're hoping will show up in this game, and a score prediction, please.
Player to watch for Brentford, probably. Is it pronounced Wissa or Vissa?
Vissa, yeah.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. He's probably danger man for them. Player to watch for Fulham. I have a feeling this will be an Iwobi show. I don't know why. I just have a feeling with his new song out and all of the hype he's probably getting, he's probably going to be in good spirits, especially off the back of recent performances. Score prediction, it's tough. I understand what Drew is saying about committing to attacking them, and I have to wholeheartedly agree, because it's going to take us twice as many opportunities to score just as many goals as them, because we're just frankly not as clinical. Haven't seen one in a while. I'm going to go 3-3. Big 6-goal thriller.
Nice. That's nice. Drew, how about yourself, mate? Give us a player from Brentford that you're looking out for, a player from Fulham, and a scoring prediction.
Christian Norgard, their Scandinavian midfielder, always seems to have a good game against us, rather sickeningly. And Buemo's the obvious other one, but I'm going to go for Norgard because he really does keep them going in midfield. They've got Christopher Aya, I think that's how you pronounce it, coming back. He's been out for a couple of games with a foot injury, which will hopefully, from their point of view, Ash, alleviate their concerns in defence that you've already highlighted. For Fulham, it sounds weird, but I think it might come down to one of our midfielders. It might be a Pereira. Pereira might actually come up big. Don't know why. I'm probably on drugs, but I just think after being called out by Silva, I just think he might. He's due. He owes us as well. He owes us. I don't care what the stats say. In terms of the sight test, and we've talked about it on air, we've talked about it off air, with Mozza, and he hasn't been hitting the heights, and he owes us. So I'll go for Pereira. In terms of, I love AJ's optimism in terms of a goal fest. I don't think it's going to be quite that high, but I think I'm going to go 3-1, 3-2 Fulham, something along those lines. And that's more hope because, as you've already said, Ash, Brentford are more clinical than us. And, I think I speak for both of you when I say that's what concerns us. That's what concerns us. If we play like we did at Everton, control the game with no cutting edge, then we're going to lose. Because Brentford are quite capable of scoring 3 goals with having 25-30% possession.
And 2 chances. They'll score 1 out of nothing.
Yeah, well, we'll give them the other one, AJ, because we love own goals, don't we?
Yeah, I think for me, looking at it, Norgard's a great shout. He's a great player, and I think they are going to be really picked up by the fact he's back after missing a game or two. He's gonna be back for them. That'll be a big lift for them. You look at that attacking lineup. You look at Wissa, you look at Mbeumo, and you have to go. Mbeumo's probably the player that I fear the most because he is that player who can. He scores all types of goals. He's been a bit overshadowed the last couple of years by Ivan Toney, naturally. But he's always been a good finisher. And Wissa, again, on the other hand, he always manages to do something against us. And they will be up for the game and they will go for it. So those two worry me. I think I would probably go in Mbeumo as my player to worry about the most because to see him scoring. I can't see him not scoring, which is the worry for me. Because of that, my Fulham player to watch is actually Anthony Robinson.
Yeah.
I believe this game is going to be us relying an awful lot on Anthony Robinson, Kenny Tete, and Leno having really good games. Because Brentford like to attack down the wing. They like to cut the ball back. They're very fast in their transitions, and Robinson needs to be on it, especially defensively on Monday night, and in order for us to see any sort of result coming from the game in my own view. So I'll go with Robinson. As much as I want to see a score, and it's going to be important for us to score, and I'd love Pereira to step up after sort of having a bit of a public, pat on the backside by Marco. I just feel like it's going to be a game where we're defensively going to have to be on it if we're going to get anything out of it, and we'll have to see where that goes. Score-wise, because of that, I see it being 2-1. It could go either way. But I'm going to be optimistic and say Fulham will win 2-1 on Monday night. I don't see us keeping the clean sheet. Brentford never keep a clean sheet. So, it is what it is there. And we'll go with that. Before we finish, lads, there is one
Oh, Ash,
more
can I just
thing.
ask you one question? Do you
Yes.
think we would win if we only score one goal?
No, I see Brentford scoring. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet on Monday night. Like as good as Leno is, and I love him. They're gonna if we keep a clean sheet on Monday, right? I will be ecstatic come full time. If the game could finish 0-0, I'd probably be more excited than anything because I just don't see it. I don't see Brentford not scoring because of the way their attacking transition works, and they are so good at it. And Thomas Frank has them, finely tuned up top, and they score so many different goals in so many different ways.
So on that basis, you're saying we need to score twice. Then you think we need to score at least twice if we're going to win,
which means we need
at
least 6 chances.
If we go into the final 10 minutes a goal up, I can absolutely guarantee, and everyone sitting around me in the hammy end on Monday night, if we are only one goal up going into the final 5 minutes, I'm going to be a nervous wreck. Like it's not going to be comfortable viewing, and we need to look on that. As I say, guys, there's one more quick thing I want to talk about Monday night. I know we've done our score predictions and stuff, and that is a return of Carvalho. Now, what are you expecting in terms of any reception he may get if he plays on Monday? If he comes on off the bench, because I really like Fabio Carvalho as a player. I know some people that have known him since he was a young lad coming through at Fulham, and he before moving to Brentford, I would have said that he'd probably be quite fondly met by most Fulham fans most weeks. But how do you feel about it, AJ? How do you feel about the idea of him coming on Monday?
See, I don't know the ins and outs of his transfer. If we were in for him and he's turned us down to go to Brentford, then I'll be a lot more sour towards him. But if he's taken Brentford because that's the opportunity he had on the table, I can't really deny him for taking a Premier League opportunity with the way his career was going at Liverpool. I just can't. You can't blame him for that. Like a Premier League club steps up and goes, yeah, we'll take you. And a Premier League club that is good at developing young players and giving them good opportunity. From a personal perspective, from his side of view, if it were anyone other than Brentford and I was in his position, I would have bitten his hand off. So, that is what it is. And it's a big if because I don't know the ins and outs of it and I don't like to assume, but if we have offered him a contract like was suggested and he turned us down to go to Brentford, then what happens, stay at Brentford, go back down into Division 2. I don't care, mate. Just clearly your ambitions aren't where you think they are. That's my 2 pence on the matter. But as a player, I've always enjoyed watching him. He was very, very creative. modern day shadow striker reminded me a lot of a young Dele Alli.
Yeah, 100%. Drew, I know it was just a quick one on that, mate, but what do you think will happen on Monday when he comes on? Because I personally, I won't boo him. I won't boo him, but I won't be. He won't be cheered on or anything. But I think he might be in for a deep reception.
He's not. Even though we brought him up through the academy, he's not felt. He hasn't left the indelible mark Cess did. I mean, Cess was always warmly welcomed, and even when we went away to Spurs, we cheered him. It wasn't so much him going to Brentford, as AJ has said. It was the nature of his departure from Fulham. He went for the wrong reasons, and I appreciate there was a lot of family pressure and a lot of money put in front of him. But from a footballing point of view, it was a disaster. I had more of a problem of him going to Liverpool than I did Harvey Elliott, because Harvey Elliott was never happy down here and always wanted to go to Liverpool. I won't go into the background of it, but there was underlying issues that were not to do with football. So when Harvey went, he went to the club he'd always supported. He went to what he believed to be was going to be a happier environment. I had no problem with that at all, because he did it for all the right reasons. Carvalho, and like I said, I think there are forces around him pushing him in the direction of Liverpool, went for the wrong reasons. It was never going to be a good footballing move. He'd been playing a lot at Fulham. He would have been playing in the Premiership. As a football player and as a man, he'd have been much further along if he'd have stayed. When he comes on, I mean, you can see him scoring, can't you? It'll be interesting. I won't be booing him, but I won't be cheering him. Because I think he's mishandled his career since he left Fulham. I mean, at this moment in time, I'm not entirely sure he's actually starting for Brentford. I could be wrong, but I think he's more of a substitute player. But he's clearly got talent. I mean, you do have to wonder, and I know we can all play what ifs, but you do have to wonder whether we'd have Pereira if Carvalho had stayed.
No, I don't think we would have.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Ash, but I'm just throwing it out there. But to go back to your point, I'm sort of ambivalent about it. I won't be booing him, but it's not the fact he's gone to Brentford. It's the manner of his departure of Fulham, because he had everything here and he could have really used it as a platform. I mean, let's be honest. AJ, you'll know better than me. How old is he now?
22, I think.
Is he that old? No, he's not that old, is he? No, he can't be that old.
Yeah, 22.
He's 22.
30th of August 2002. 22
Right.
years old.
Okay. Well, that's a surprise. So when did he leave us? 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
He left us
3 years
in 2022. So he would have been 20 when he left.
So
us.
let's just say he'd have stayed at Fulham. He would have been playing Premier League football for 3 years now. You cannot tell me, right? You cannot tell me that he wouldn't have been further along in his development if he'd have stayed here. You know, I mean, and that's what really annoys me. That's what really annoys me. So it was it in a nutshell, Ash. It wasn't him going to Brentford that's wound me up. It was his departure from Fulham still rankles. Really does.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. That was the response I was hoping to get. I think it's important that we know as a fan base, what we've done for him in his career. I know he'll get booed on Monday if he comes on, and I fully suspect that Thomas Frank will use that as a way of motivating him as a player, not as to go out and shut him up. Shut him up, because that's the type of the manager he is. I think it's important that we're aware of that as a fan base come Monday. But I only wanted to ask that quick question at the end. I know we've already done our scoreline, so we'll leave it here. Just as a heads up for everyone, we will be recording a review of the game on Monday night. On Tuesday, that'll be out on Wednesday. That'll be coming out alongside an FFCME rewind, which will be with the Fulham Lilies co-founder Sarah Keeg. And then next week we will have a match preview for the Crystal Palace game with a special guest. We'll announce that early next week. I hope you guys enjoy the game on Monday night. Hope we get the result we need. Drew, if I see you at Putney Bridge afterwards, hopefully we'll be celebrating, not commiserating.
Yeah,
but
we'll get back before Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll go from there. But I'm really up for this game on Monday. I'm really looking forward to it. Everyone needs to remember £2 pints until before 7 p.m. on Monday night again that the Fulham are putting on, which is great for the club point of view. So let's get there and build an atmosphere. And actually, we're going to make it a derby. Let's make it a fucking derby, and play our part. See you guys next week. Come on, you whites.